We now know is that the roof has collapsed of that iconic, beautiful cathedral. This is indeed a tragedy.
And a tragedy it truly is. Hi, everybody. Life with Aaron. And I just wanted to say a few words about the tragic loss of the vast majority of the Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris, France. Of course, this is a very famous cathedral known the world over, sees 13 million visitors a year. 850 years old. World wars have not been able to stop it. Civil wars have not been able to stop it. Revolutions have not affected this church, and now brought down by a fire. And what we're hearing as of right now is that it was an accidental fire. We're going to look at some additional things as we continue to talk, but I want you to see just some of the sights and sounds around this horrendous fire.
Firefighter for the past 30 years. Bill, can you give us some insight into what these firefighters are up against and how a fire like this is particularly difficult to fight?
Well, I'll tell you, Tanya, church fires in general are really hard to fight, whether it's a smaller church with a big nave in it, or if it's something to this level of a cathedral. And it almost seems as if, and I'm not there, but just looking at it, as if the die was probably cast by the time firefighters arrived. I mean, that fire was high up on the roof. It presented a logistical challenge. The cathedral itself sits on an island in the middle of the Seine River. It may have been difficult to get apparatus into position, particularly the aerial pieces that need to put water on that fire up on top.
Leading up to this horrendous fire, this cultural icon had been going through a nearly $100 million renovation. That is currently what is being blamed for this fire. An accident which in an older church, dried wood went up like a tinderbox, and firefighters have done the best that they possibly could to put this out. But it seems as if much of the cathedral itself is going to be a complete loss. And even though several cultural and historical items of religious significance were lost, countless pieces of artwork, they are just things. And as of right now, there has been no loss of life, and that is really the main thing that has to be celebrated.
Some of you have not because you've been here. But I will tell you, the fire that they're having at the Notre Dame Cathedral is something like few people have witnessed. When we left, we had a whole group of your great representatives, and when we left the plane, it was burning at a level that you rarely see a fire burn. It's one of the great treasures of the world.
We hear those words from President Trump. We also have seen the French leader Emmanuel Macron out in full force saying that the cathedral will be rebuilt, that the world will come together to see this heritage site return to its former glory. France is in a state of turmoil. We have seen protests by the Yellow Vests, which are the French middle class, protesting things like fuel prices, as well as other measures that has really stifled growth in the country. We have seen in France churches desecrated across the French countryside, some 50 in total, looting, damage, destruction, trash thrown all over these churches, even the horrendous act of feces being smeared into the shape of a cross in one. And it does lead many to question, is this an act of terror that we have seen on these churches as well in the cathedral tonight? Mass was going on as the fire broke out. And this has not only the usual subjects ringing the bells of conspiracy, but it also has French citizens themselves speaking out.
Have you seen, and what do you know?
Well, I was close to the scene when it happened. the place because we want to let people work around it. Everybody is really under shock now in France. I would tell you something. It's even if nobody died. I mean, it's like a 9/11. It's a French 9/11, you know, and it's a big shock. I mean, this church was there for more than 850 years. Even the Nazis didn't dare to destroy it. And you need to know that for the past years, we had churches desecrated each and every week in France, all over France. So, of course, you will hear the story about the political correctness, which will tell you that it's probably an accident.
Sir, we're not going to speculate here of the cause of something which we don't know. If you have observations or you know something, we would love to hear it.
No, I'm just telling you something. What we need to be ready.
No, sir, we're not doing that here. Not now.
Okay.
Not on my watch.
Okay.
Felipe Carcente, it's very good of you to be here.
We could hear a couple of things in that interview with Philip Carcente, an elected official in Paris, with Shepard Smith of Fox News. You had Shep Smith trying to stick to facts that we know, but you also had a growing frustration that you could hear in the voice of Felipe Carcente of where his country is going. So when will we know the truth of what happened? Investigation has already been started by French authorities trying to find out the central cause of this blaze. In recent times, as recently as 2016, arrests were made right outside of Notre Dame. There was a gas cylinder situation. 7 gas canisters were in a car where a suspect known on the terrorist watch list was apprehended in Paris. Do we know if that is the case? It's really too soon to tell. But as we are now starting to see some of the first pictures of the actual damage to the cathedral, is that this investigation will take time, but that we will have answers. And I do agree with President Macron's call for calm and a call to let the investigators do what they do best. And it is also a time for the world to come together and mourn the loss of, take the religious aspect out of it even, but mourn the loss of such a beautiful reflection of our past. Some of the timbers used in the cathedral at Notre Dame were from the 1170s. Just really boggles the mind to think about that and this link to our past. But the cathedral will be reborn. And that's the important thing to remember.